We're now joined by Coastal Carolina football coach Jamey Chadwell, one of the great stories last year in college football, ranked in the top 25 already. Jamey Chadwell joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Sometimes attention is always great, but then also the expectations then, of course, get higher. But isn't that, Jamey, what you want, to be at a place where people expect you to win?
Well, yeah, that means that you're doing well, and I would state, your expectations within your program always should be high, and if they finally start matching outside, then that's a good thing. That means you're meeting those expectations within your program. And so, with our team, I told them that. I said, it doesn't matter about the outside expectations. We've always been focused on our own, and that's to be our best every single day. And so it's good that it's working out. That means you're doing well.
I know there's always pride in every conference. The Sun Belt, of course, last year had a great run, and this year there's you and University of Louisiana sitting right there in the top 25. And how much do you feel like now more than ever, because of the landscape in college football, do conferences like the Sun Belt not have to prove themselves, but need to be noticed of what they're doing?
Well, I do think it's important, obviously, with what's going on and who knows where we're headed. I think the more that your conference, the more success they have, especially against Power Fives, other G5 conferences that you compete against, I think it's better. It helps your program. It helps the overall conference profile because you want to take advantage of those opportunities to get on TV. And typically when you're on TV, you're playing either a great conference opponent or you're paying somebody out of conference. It's a big game. And we've done well with that last year, and over the last few years, the Sun Belt's done really well. But specifically last year, when all three of us, three of our teams played the Big 12 in that one day, I think that set the season in motion for us to have arguably the best season our conference has had overall. And so it's a big deal.
Are you, as someone who's at Coastal Carolina, are you concerned about everything becoming even more of a wider gap with a talk or possibilities of expansion? I thought when they were going to have the college football playoff expansion, it might actually open the door to maybe give people a little bit more of a chance. But it appears as if it could be actually getting more of a wider gap depending on what happens.
Well, and I think that's the big question. When it originally came out, I think everybody at the G5 was excited about it because if a team like ourselves or a Cincinnati, a UCF, a couple, 2, 3, 4 years ago, if they have a tremendous season, they get a great chance not only to go to a bowl game, but they get a chance to be in the playoff, and play for the national championship. And you can argue back and forth, hey, would any of those teams be good enough to win it? Who knows? But at least they have the chance to do it and see. But now, with what's happening and the direction, it seems like it might be heading. That might be off the table now. Because everybody's obviously trying to, protect their own conference and do what's best for themselves there. And so I do think it definitely is a wait and see. It looked like we were trending in a good direction, and I say we from a G5 standpoint. Mm-hmm. But right now, who knows? And I think that's I don't want to say it's concern right now because we're still 2 or 3 years away from exactly happening. But I do think if you're not preparing for that, then you're going to be behind.
You last year played Brigham Young, and it was a game that was just kind of like not thrown together, but in a way it was put together because of necessity and openings and cancellations or whatever, postponements, and then you win the game. How big a win was that?
Well, I think more than anything, that one is one that really, brought a lot more, national attention. One, game day was here. Two, because the way the game came together. Three, obviously they were undefeated. And they were vying for, that bowl game spot, and their quarterback was a top 5 player in the country. They had all the positive things going. It gave us a chance on national television if people hadn't seen us up to that point to see us, and a lot of people watched it. And I think that's the one that really allowed our brand of what we're doing to be, get more and more out there, open our eyes to more recruits, and say, hey, this team is a legit team, not just good in the Sun Belt, but could be, good nationally. And so I think that was the one that more people took notice of than any others.
Tell me the story about Grayson McCall.
Well, we knew when we signed him that we thought we had somebody that's going to be pretty good. Now, I'm lying to you if I said he was going to be, all conference and all the things. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that. But we did think, hey, this guy's got a chance to be pretty good. When he got here, there was maturity that he needed to do. He loved football, but he needed to understand what it took, to be the quarterback every day and the mindset and mentality you have to have. But there were glimpses when he got here as a freshman, and then he didn't play, he redshirted, had a spring, and then as soon as spring, we do spring early. As soon as it ended, that's when COVID took off, and so we didn't get an off season. Got quarantined basically the whole summer, and was in fall camp, and then one of our quarterbacks that was ahead of him got hurt, and he ended up getting more reps for about 6 straight days, and he just took off. And he just has an uncanny ability to manage the pocket. That's one thing that a quarterback can either do. Quarterbacks can look good, they can throw good, they can have the best arm, they can have all these things. But if they can't manage the pocket when it's under fire, then it doesn't matter how talented they are, they're not going to be successful. And he has talent, but he also has that ability to manage the pocket. That's what separates him. He can keep his eyes downfield and still throw with accuracy. And for a freshman last year, the moment never got too big for him. And he's just going to continue to get better and better.
He's also can run the ball, nearly 600 yards. And in fact, speaking of that, you guys are known maybe to sometimes be wide open, but you ran the ball pretty much 50-50 with yards to pass. And in the end, despite all this, everything seems to be in that spread, whatever, the pistol, all these things. Isn't it still really opening up more room to run the ball rather than throw the ball?
Yeah, I think that's what you're trying to do. You try to create space as much as you can, and most people think the space is out there throwing, which it is. But if you can get people out there covering and doing different stuff, you're trying to run the ball. And if you can run the ball when not when people think you're not going to, it's when people know you have to run it and you can still run it. I think that's the successful teams, and we were able to run the ball when we wanted to be able to control the line of scrimmage. And what happens, you do that, it gives you more shots or more opportunities for home run plays. It allows you to control the clock. It allows your defense to be rest when they go out there. And so you want to be as balanced as you can. And sometimes balance is 60-40 pass. Sometimes balance is 60-40 run. I think it's different, but based off the opponent you play. But you're trying to find ways to be able to control that line of scrimmage. And if you can run the football, that gives you open so many more doors.
You played quarterback at East Tennessee State, obviously. Does that make it easier to be in the position you are? Does it matter what position you played in college as long as you were pretty good at or studious or kind of understood the game?
Well, I wasn't pretty good at quarterback, so you can mark that one down. But, you know what? I think there's any position that you can play and you can be a successful coach. I do think the thing about being a quarterback is typically your quarterback has to know something about every position, right? Meaning you got to know what the running back does. You got to know what the receiver's doing, what the tight end's doing. You got to know which way the O-line's going, blocking wise. And so I think it gives you an overall perspective of knowing exactly what people should do. And then secondly, most people look to a quarterback as a leader of the team just because that's the position you play, whether you have that leadership skill or not. Because you're a quarterback, most people think he should be your leader. And I think for me, I always took that to heart. It's like, hey, as a quarterback, I got other, the other 10 other players and really the other 21 on defense saying, hey, you're our leader. And I always took that to heart to saying, hey, I've got to always try to make sure I'm putting myself in the best position to be ready to go, whether I'm playing, which I didn't much, but just trying to be that teammate that people wanted to say, hey, yeah, we can follow that. And I think that's helped me as coaching because I've always tried to put myself in that perspective. And I do think it, again, is that the main reason? No, there's plenty of great coaches that didn't play that position. They played DB, they played receiver, they played a bunch of other ones. But I think the more you know about how other people fit, I think you can relate because, in my opinion, coaching is about relating. It's not about X and O's.
I'm sorry, your coaching career, you have to start somewhere and then you move on up and up and up. That's kind of what Coastal Carolina's done. I remember the debut year was 2003. There were a couple of times they knocked on the door in the FCS, and of course there's that mighty 800-pound gorilla, North Dakota State, that stood in their way along with so many others. And now you guys have blossomed to where people know more about you and you yourself in coaching. How much is it important to be methodically successful rather than high to low and then maybe leave even off? Has this been a nice methodical run for Coastal Carolina, knowing that there was a little soft area in between?
Well, I think because you mentioned we started football in 2003 was our first season. 2002 was actually the when they started it, and we got off to a great start. And you mentioned we had a lot of success at FCS, and then we went through some rough patches there, and then back to the top. I think making this transition to FBS was challenging, because no matter how great you are at FCS, I think once you start playing more teams that have the 85 scholarships and they care about football, and it's a challenge to continue to try to build. And so we have had a methodical growth, which has been good. And the main thing in coaching, and I think in any type of success, you just want to have consistent success. Don't get me wrong, you love how those 11-win seasons, but if you follow it with a 2-win season, that's not ideal. And so I think that's what you want to continue to build, where every year consistently, hey, this is going to be a good program. Might not win 11, but they're going to put themselves right where they need to be every game. And I think that's what you want, and that's what we're trying to build to.
Jamey, Jamey Chadwell, Coastal Carolina. My last question is, last year, the great run. I know the last game was a thrilling loss. It was tough for you guys, but with Liberty. But all the attention, the top 25, and as you mentioned, your quarterback is back, and expectations inside the program are at a very high standard. So your thoughts as you're on the cusp of the season starting here pretty soon. Your thoughts about your team. Do you like what you see?
Yeah, I mean, we got obviously a lot of talent back, and I do think we've added some really good athleticism, with our guys that redshirted, new guys that came in. Some younger guys. So I do think we have a great mix. Our biggest challenge is, are we going to continue to stay hungry? Are we going to continue to play and compete with a chip on our shoulder? We win games here because we have a chip on our shoulder mindset that we know we have to play at this level every time to win because other people are more talented. That's our mindset. That's how we win games. And I think it's easy when you win, people think, well, we won because we're just talented, and that can sip into your players. And we got to make sure that that's not. And I feel good that our leadership is maintaining that mindset we need to have to go out and play at a high level. And I expect us to have a great season. And what I mean by that is that we're going to play the game the way we're capable of. We're going to do the things necessary for us to win games. I mean, we'll win all of them, but I feel good about every game we go into, that we have the talent and the experience that we need to go, win games and hopefully have another magical season.
Jamey, thank you very much. Congratulations on last year. I know that's out in the rearview mirror, especially after the craziness of what everyone dealt with. And I know it's still kind of a little bit of that with COVID right now. But congratulations on what you've done. Good luck as you head forward with your opening game. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on here. God bless you.
That's Jamey Chadwell, head football coach at Coastal Carolina on 365 Sports.